Hello everyone, it's Jennifer and thank you for joining me today. I am bringing out again my two jewelry kits that I got from BB Craft, and I'm going to make a couple of stretch bracelets. And the first one I'm going to make is in this gorgeous blue, and I'm going to put a link to this mix in the description. But what I love about these mixes is I was all about the beads. I thought, oh, the beads are going to be amazing. But then I open up the package and here I have some fiber cord, some stretch fiber cord. And I love stretch fiber cord. So I'm all for it and ready to get going on these, on a project using these beads. You get so many beads, and I am going to pick out some of these darker ones for another project and try to stick with just the lighter ones. I'm not going to get all of them, but I'm going to try and stick with the lighter beads for this. And get rid of those and just kind of put them off to the side, the darker ones. And if I need to bleed into the darker beads, I can do that too. All right, so the first thing that I want to do, I love this stretch cord, and you don't have to prime it. So let me see where I can find where this all starts. I was starting. Okay, so I like to double mine, and so I'm gonna go probably. Actually, I can work from the spool, because I'm gonna go ahead and use one of the Fandy Dandy needles. I had one of these out, and I always lose them. Always, always, always. I usually just stick them in the corner of my beading mat, but I couldn't find it. I went to go look for it here on the corner and it was gone. I can always go back and look at videos to see where it disappeared to. Now, the thing with these is if you're working with beads with tight holes, sometimes it will start to fray because of the needle. But I also want to try and find a bead that has a larger hole. I think these probably all have about the same size hole, but I want to try and find one that has kind of a larger hole. Like that one has a larger hole, and that one's a dark one, and I can have that maybe in the middle, but so I just try to do that. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm just going to start threading on until I get to my desired length, and then I will come back and we will finish it off, and I'll show you how I tie them off. So this is going to be a quick little tutorial. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and stop there, but I am going to bring back that bead that actually has a larger hole, and I'm going to have that as my bead, because then I can try and hide my knot in there. Okay, so now that I have this all to my desired length, and again, with these beads, to decide how long, you can't just simply say, oh wow, that's an 8-inch bracelet, because it's 8 inches across. So this is about a 7.5-inch bracelet. No, it's because once you do this, you're taking into consideration the size, and this ends up being about 6 3/4 or 6 1/2. So now what I want to do is I want to have enough working here because I want to go all the way back around. So I'm going to start going all the way back around. So this is the first bead that I threaded, and I'm going to start going all the way back around. And this is where, if you're working with a, and then I just kind of tug on this side here as I start pulling. And this is where, if you have small hole beads, this is where passing it through a second time might not work, but I knew that these would be able to work. Okay, there we go. And I have a nice length over here, but I'm going to keep it on. I'm going to keep it on the spool, and here's why, is sometimes as you're threading, you forget that this is also pulling, and so it does add some friction, and so what you can do is you can pull some of those beads off. So you don't want to do that. I mean, all you have to do is just thread them again. But yeah, that does happen, and it did happen to me. So you notice when I'm pulling from the bead where there's some tension, I will hold on to this whole thing here with the thread or with a cord, because then I feel like I'm putting less pressure on the cording that is inside that needle. And so I just kind of do that, and then just kind of pull from, I basically pull from the cord. We're going to come back around, and this is just going to be a simple bracelet. So there's not going to be anything else added to it. And I want to come out of this bead here on this side. And the next bracelet that I'm going to make, I'm going to actually add some charms to it. Okay, so go ahead and give that a pull just to bring that all together. I'm going to go ahead and come in with some cutters and leave myself a good enough tail so that I can do some tying. And then I'm just going to grab my needle and just kind of gracefully do that, because I don't want to. It's a very strong cord, but it does fray when it's up against like needles. When you're wearing it, I have a bracelet that I've worn since my granddaughter was born, so 3 years, and it's still intact, and it's using this method that I'm about ready to show you now. All right, oh, something else that you're gonna want is you're gonna want some GS Hypo cement. I'm at the very end of it here. But now, so I have these two coming out of either of these beads, and I'm going to tuck my knot in here. That's another thing about the fiber cord, is that you can tie, and your knot is usually a good size to place inside of a bead. If not, you can add a large spacer bead. You can do, that's what we're going to do on this one, is we're going to add a large bail and then add a charm. But this one here, I just want it to be simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and make sure that I don't have a lot of slack, but I don't want it to be so tight that the beads, that it distorts the shape of the bracelet. So where it's all, where you can tell that it's just way too tight. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is good right here. Plus also too, when I start tying, I'm going to be pulling and tugging. So I'm going to do one overhand knot, just like so. I'm going to pull. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and take and do a surgeon's knot. So I'm going to go through once. I'm going to go through twice. Okay. There we go. We have that. And I'm going to go ahead and go like this. Then I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a tug. Then what I'm going to do is here's my knot, just like so, right? I'm going to go ahead and take this and pass it under, because you remember we have two cords, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it under the other cord and do the same exact thing, where I'm gonna do a knot. Okay. I'm gonna now do a surgeon's knot. Let's turn it this way here now, and we're gonna do a surgeon's knot. 1, 2, get that all nice and tidy in there. And then I'm gonna do one more knot. Okay. So get that all nice and tight, get that nice and pulled and stretched. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, and so now you can see that the knotting is around both of those strands. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm just going to wrap around, and yes, I cut off the circulation to my finger by doing this, but I'm going to stretch this out so that I can be sure to get some, if I can get some in there, see if there's any to come out. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and just dab a little here, dab a little there. Give it a quick little, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and just take this apart and then let it dry. Or you can always come in with your cutters, do that, and it already snuck inside. It already snuck inside that bead right there. Oh, wait, no, there it is. Let's go ahead and sneak it inside. There we go. And there is our first stretch bracelet. I will bring in another video showing you a stretch bracelet using this because we're going to also add some other components to it. And then maybe we'll finish off and do a second bracelet using the rest of these beads. So please give this video a huge thumbs up if you like it. Leave me a comment. I love to see what everybody has to say. Check out bbcraft.com. It is absolutely incredible. It's an enormous website with tons and tons and tons of good stuff. And I will put links in the description below. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, have a good one.